Good evening, everybody. Tonight I'm going to be canning chicken, and I'm going to be doing something that's really unusual for me, and that is I'm going to be raw packing it. You can see this chicken still has some ice down in there. But what I'm going to show you is how to skin the chicken using paper towels, cutting the chicken up, and getting it into the first jar. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is cut the chicken apart. This is still frozen, so it's getting a little hard to cut. Right between the joint. Your knife will pretty much find it. Probably should have got a little bit sharper knife. Now I'm just going to get a paper towel and start pulling the skin off. And I'll pull some of the fat off too. A paper towel being dry will grab onto the skin much easier than your hands will. And there it is. That's most of it right there. Come back and start pulling on the fat as much as I can. I don't want a lot of this fat in the jars. Trim it off if you have to. I think I'm going to have to use a different knife for the rest of this, but I'm here anyway. Okay, and I'm going to cut that little tail off. Now.
It's kind of weird that tail was on there.
Yeah.
Stuck to the thigh.
Yeah. So, I'll just go through in a minute and pull all the fat out. But there you go. There's a big old chicken thigh. There's my hand in a glove that's too big. So you can see how big that thigh is. And I might wind up having to trim it a little just to get it in the jars, because the jars I'm using are regular mouth and not wide mouth jars. But there you go. That's how you pull the skin off the chicken. So let me get the rest of these done, and I'll be right back. I'm ready to start filling the first jar. I've had my jars heating in my canner. Set one over here. Oops, sorry. Start getting my chicken in there. I'm going to start with some drumsticks down in the bottom. You can kind of push them and shake them. Get them in there. Get one more in there. You can start turning the other ones up the other way. You can squeeze these in there pretty tight. Look. You want to try to fill it up pretty good. You don't have to just shove and cram, but you can put them in there pretty tight. So this is going to be all drumsticks. You get them up to the 1-inch headspace, which is pretty close right there. I can probably push that, whoops, sorry. Push that one down a little bit more. You only want when you're doing raw pack, you only want your canner water up to about 140. And then you bring your jars out. Start filling them hot. Raw pack does not mean everything starts cold. Okay, I'm going to take this glove off, these gloves off. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. That's all it needs. Now with raw pack, you don't have to add water. I like to add water, boiling water, because that helps me make sure that the chicken will absolutely all be covered. And it's only, it seems like a lot, but it's only a couple of tablespoons of water. Let me see if I can push that one down a little bit more. Maybe. And it's okay to add water. This is not going to overfill the jar. The chicken will produce some of its own liquid, but the jar will not run over. And that is because as the chicken releases the liquid, it shrinks down. So it just makes up for the difference. Now I've got to wipe the jar off with a paper towel that's been soaked in vinegar. Get a lid. Get a ring. Sorry. Okay, that's all it needs. It's on there. I'll bring you back as soon as I finish filling the rest of the jars. Okay, my chicken is in the canner. I'm getting ready to put the lid on. I got 4 quarts and 1 pint of chicken out of a 10-pound bag, and that's after I pulled the skin off and trimmed off all the fat. So now chicken in quarts with the bone in cans for only 75 minutes. Pints is only 60 minutes, but it's going to stay in there the full 75, of course, because it's in with these other guys. So I'll bring you back whenever the canner starts steaming out the vent, and then I'll bring you back again when I put the weight on. Okay. Oops, get my finger out. I've got a steady stream of steam coming out of that vent. So I'll set my timer for 10 minutes, and I'll bring you back when I put the weight on. Okay, the 10-minute timer has gone off, so now it's time to put the weight on. This will pop up soon. You can see my gauge is all messed up. But I don't use it. I use the weight at 10 pounds for my elevation. This will pop up. Give me a good seal there, and then in a few minutes, that will start rocking. Okay, as you can see, it's beginning to rock. So I've set my timer for 75 minutes. And I'll turn it down just a little bit if it starts rocking too fast. Now I'll bring you back when it's time to take the jars out. Okay, there we go. 4 quarts and 1 pint of raw packed chicken. This is the leg and thigh quarters. Tomorrow, after they're cooled down good, and I know that they're sealed, I'll wash them up, write what they are and the date on the top, remove the rings, and store them for later. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe.